Hello and welcome to episode 43 of the 214 Sports Show, your home for everything DFW sports. Of course, a very hectic sports scene, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, with the Dallas Mavericks unfortunately dropping another game in the NBA Finals, but also the Texas Rangers in LA. TJ Krylowitz, my co-host for today, in the absence of Courtney Machani, who is having a nice little vacay. TJ, how is it going for you?
Well, I can't say that I'm doing better than Courtney right now. I'm sure he's having a great time on vacation. Meanwhile, I spent a good amount of money. I won't disclose how much money it was, but a good amount of money on finals tickets to watch that disappointing ending. But I mean, we'll get into the finals experience, I guess, a little later.
Yeah, last episode we were talking about, it might have been 2 episodes ago, we were talking about how hard we were working on our own jobs that we do, apart from the podcast and stuff. And we know Courtney was working hard at Sprouts apparently, and he had to do a lot of closing duty. So, well needed vacay for
He's a busy
Courtney.
man, dude.
For sure, he's a busy
He's
man.
got a lot of plants to water or something like that. I don't know.
I think Sprouts is isn't Sprouts like a Whole Foods thing? I thought it was a.
Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know, man.
He works in the deli though. He said he works in the deli, I believe.
Yeah, he said he worked in the deli. He was doing something with the meats, man.
That's right. He was been chopping the stuff up. He says, I thought he wore a hairnet, but apparently he wears a hat, he says. So they don't do that to him there.
Man.
But diving in.
The apron on.
Oh, yeah, we need to see him with the apron on. I might pull up just to see if he can cut me some honey baked ham, maybe just a nice half pound. But, but diving into the podcast, not too much going on that we're going to talk about, except, of course, the big, unfortunate comeback that fell short last night. Game 3 of the NBA Finals. The whole NBA Finals champions, the 2011 team that pulled up to watch this team compete, considering Caron Butler, Dirk Nowitzki, I believe some others like who else was there in attendance? Do you remember?
Sean Marion, JJ Barea was there. Jason Terry, I think you said already though, but
and then DFW legends and Steve Nash pulling up, and not a very rare sight to see him at a Mavericks game recently and cheering on Kyrie Irving. How about that?
Yeah, I know.
Emmitt Smith in attendance. Yeah, so first finals appearance for the Dallas Mavericks.
Players away. I know that Emmitt's a winner, but should have kept the Cowboys away from this team, man.
It's getting scary, man. It always is that way. It seems like we just can't have them at all, no matter if they're in the past or if they're today's Cowboys players. Because, man, that last game when the Cowboys players pulled up, we know what happened.
A stinker.
We know what happened.
Yeah.
How dare I? But going to the Mavericks loss, they lost 106-99. We do want to talk a little bit about the fake Dallas sports comebacks. We've seen this so many times in our lives, whether it be the Cowboys, whether it be the Mavericks, whether it be the Rangers or the Stars. It's that, that kind of game that Dallas sports has where they look like they're about to be out of it, and then all of a sudden they make this comeback, and you think they're about to have this nice heroic team effort to bring it all back and win it in the last few seconds, and then it just falls short. Luka Doncic fouls out in the final 4 minutes, and then Kyrie Irving couldn't knock down the fadeaway three that he tried to replicate from the 2016 finals. So when you see this game that you were in attendance for and that you said you don't want to reveal the amount you paid for, what did you see that kind of made you a little frustrated in this game that we lost?
I mean, it's again, the Mavs beat themselves, and we talked about it again. We talked about it before the show. It's a trademark Dallas sports, specifically the Mavericks, where they like to kind of dig themselves a hole and then get themselves out of it by playing some of the best basketball that that they'll play, and then kind of losing the momentum one way or another. This time it was Luka Doncic fouling out, and also refs getting a little whistle happy. I think that a lot of people also blaming Jason Kidd for that timeout when we were in that middle of that 20-2 run. I thought it was great. I needed to go to the bathroom. I was like, I'm not going to make it. So I went to the restroom during that. I felt great. This is actually the final shirt that I got on for the show today. I can't really see it too much, but I mean, there's no. It just says one for Dallas or one for all Dallas,
That's what they had on the seat when you got there, and nobody was wearing it, or did you buy it? Oh my gosh!
Well, the nosebleeds people were all nosebleeds in the Lexus the middle section. They were all wearing the shirts. I'm telling you. I mean, and it was actually pretty cool. I don't know what kind of color code they had in the lower bowl, obviously, because nobody was wearing the shirts. But I know that the middle section they had blue shirts, nosebleeds they had white shirts. It was kind of a cool little combination. Too bad that those people who paid thousands and thousands of dollars just can't uh, go by the dress code, go by the playoff dress code. That I mean, the Mavericks fans. We used to do it. I mean, you look at photos from the 2011 finals. You watch, the 2014 playoffs with Vince Carter's buzzer beater, and it's a sea of blue in the lower bowl. I mean, what happened? Why did tickets get so expensive? It's Luka, but I mean, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see that. But with that being said, I will say that place was rocking in the fourth quarter. It was dead silent. You could hear a pin drop once the Celtics went on that run in the third quarter, in the early fourth quarter. But man, there's nothing that can get the Dallas crowd going more than Josh Green hitting a 3-pointer. And some of these players stepping up that you don't see. PJ Washington started hitting threes. My goodness, once you start seeing that, it's like, this is a comeback. This is a rally. They got to keep this going, and they did. And but what really made this so frustrating, obviously, was just the ineptitude in the last 4 minutes. Luka, we'll get into Luka. But there's just watching some of the plays. You'd mentioned Kyrie with his remake of the 2016 shot. He dribbled out the whole possession and decided to take that shot, which was not a good shot. And that was really frustrating. At that point, the Mavericks still had a chance of winning that game, of coming back, and that missed shot kind of put it at the end. But just being able to put effort into all 48 minutes, being able to control the momentum shifts, and be able to kind of just be able to survive, because they're not surviving whenever the Celtics get hot. They're gonna get hot. They're a really, really good team. They're the best team in the NBA for a reason, and they have the most efficient offense in NBA history, I believe, this year through regular season standings. And so, you're gonna have to be able to withhold that strong push that the Celtics are gonna have, and that means you're gonna have to score every once in a while down on the floor. And they just weren't doing that. And they get into that, they get into their heads or something, and they start missing layups. They start missing open threes again. And, there's just, when you're not able to win the third quarter, but you're able to win basically every other quarter, excluding the second quarter, that was kind of a tie. First and fourth quarter, they obviously won. It's frustrating. Majority of the game, you're winning. Majority of the game, you are playing better than them. But you just can't, and you can blame Jason Kidd for not calling timeouts. You can blame Luka for slowing the offense down, not getting others involved, with taking, he was missing all his shots in the third period. But I don't know. I want to hear what you have to think, because we have two different perspectives. I didn't see the broadcasters talking. I didn't see any of that. So what made you frustrated about last night, I guess?
Well, for me, it's the bench, and oh my god, I mean, you see it every single time, and every single one of these first three games. It's just the bench play, and we're getting completely outclassed with bench play. You got guys like Xavier Tillman talking crap to us now, who are filling in for Kristaps Porzingis, of course, who got hurt. And it's like, come on,
unlike
man.
any of the other dudes on the bench, he could hit an open three. So I don't blame him.
It amazes me how, like. And I don't want to go after Maxi Kleb right now, because he is battling through a lot. He did a lot to come back to this spot. But Tim Hardaway Jr., man.
Yep.
Come on.
I didn't bring him up because I wanted you to bring him up.
Come on, man. What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you talk about a guy who obviously has the utmost confidence in his shot, even when you want him to, like, kind of lay off sometimes. He'll still put up the shots every now and then. That could be a good mentality at times. When they're not falling, sometimes you just got to make the extra pass and just not keep throwing up those shots, because it's just a brick almost every single time.
Yeah.
Negative 16 plus minus for him, by the way. Negative 13 for Kleber, but I don't want to go after Kleber that much because he's being used much more as a decoy, more for his defensive effort this time around. But the bench play is just, it has not been there the entire series. They're completely getting outclassed by Boston's bench. Guys like Peyton Pritchard, he actually didn't have a great game 3, but his effort on the defensive side of the ball has been pretty well.
I have to say, he was the reason why the Mavericks got back into the game. He started chucking up random shots, man. Horrible shots in that start of the fourth quarter. Let the Mavs get back into it. It was kind of unheard. I did not expect Pritchard to try to start cooking Kyrie and stuff, but
yeah, it's also not crashing the glass, and they could get away with it a little bit last series against the Timberwolves because I felt like Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns are a little bit soft, and Karl-Anthony Towns is not really trying to live that much in the post. As you know, he's trying to live so much on the three-point line. But Rudy Gobert wasn't really efficiently rebounding as well as he usually would in last series. But in this series, they're getting completely outclassed off the glass. And to be fair, you can't blame them. They've been good at it all year. Boston has been good at the rebounding all season long. But the offensive rebound saved by the point guards. Luka has to, he has to show up a little bit more in the low post when trying to get the defensive rebounds instead of letting Drew Holiday sneak by him. I know Drew Holiday is pretty strong for a point guard, but even Derek White, a 6'4" point guard who's just completely showing more effort than him off the glass. I mean, you got to at least give more of an effort so they don't get any more second chance points.
Right.
And then PJ Washington, he played a little bit better this game. I'm a little bit more proud of him from the 3-point range, but I really think that sometimes they have a little bit of boneheaded turnovers as a team. Just driving 1-on-3, which I was talking about a little bit last night. I'm not sure why we have so many fast breaks in this series.
That don't end in baskets.
And that don't end in baskets. And I get they have a great defense. I get they do. But sometimes you have to wait for your men to come with you so that they don't just, sit all the way behind and then you take a 1-on-3 or 1-on-4 shot because you're going to get easily blocked. And we saw it with Porzingis in game 2. We saw it a little bit with, I believe, Josh Green in game 1. It's just not smart basketball overall from this team. And the funny thing is the Celtics offense, they've been waking up really in the middle of the third quarter in this entire series and then clutching up more than us in the fourth quarter. But overall, I mean, the defensive side of the ball isn't doing horrendous. Luka, we can talk about him in a few minutes because there's a whole, big talk about his defensive effort going on. Brian Windhorst went after him crazy for how he's been berating officials. I want to ask you that next. Luka Doncic, the complaining, I get it, the whining, and of course the officiating was a little bit weird once again. But what do you think about all of that so far?
It's tough because I feel like I am being a little biased when I come to this, but I just think that the Luka hate is super overblown. I think they're I think that the media is just being a little too harsh on Luka. And I'm saying this because look, Jaylen Brown's a super athlete. This guy can try 110% on defense and then go on offense and dribble the whole clock out and make an amazing move to hit a nice turnaround mid-range or something like that. There's 99% of NBA players cannot play 40-plus minutes and give that much effort on the defensive and offensive side, especially in the playoffs. When you have multiple minutes, the intensity's matched up. And so that's what you see. You see like Anthony Edwards last round where TNT was just going crazy on it. Look, he's tired. He's gassed. And that's what happens when you have to guard Kyrie Irving for 40-plus minutes and you're at the end of the game. And so, that's just what happens sometimes. His defensive effort might not be the best right now, but, he's been a good defender throughout the year. And I don't want people to just automatically think that this guy sucks at defense. The ESPN stat is some insane hating to give that stat up where it's like
I have never seen blow-by percentage in my life.
Blow-by percentage.
It reminds me a lot of when they were showing the Trayvon Diggs stat a few years ago when he had the record, not record for picks, but it was like he led the league in picks.
Close.
And all of a sudden they started showing stats for like who's giving up the most yards by a corner in the season. I had never seen that up to that point. Nobody tracks. It's just unreal to me. And I mean, Sorry, I cut you off. Go
Yeah, I mean, no, you're all good. I mean, when you see cracks in a superstar athlete, this is what the media does. They attack that. And so Brian Windhorst, I hate him. I'm gonna be honest. I do not like him. He's a guy who, first of all, I just don't even think he's a good personality, to be honest. I think he's always just he looks like he's just like a sloucher. He looks like he's like always tired. But second of all, I mean, he's a guy who ESPN loves because he will automatically favor the high media market teams. And that's what he does. He would never say something about that like about LeBron. If you're looking at LeBron in these years right now, which, he is 38, 39, I'll give him that. But you're looking at LeBron, and his defensive effort in the playoffs against Denver was awful. It was awful. So bad. Nobody talked about it. Nobody talked about it at all. And so, I mean, I just don't, I don't think that the Luka defense is the biggest concern for the Mavericks. I don't think him fouling out was the reason why we lost. Again, I want to point out, this is what I want to get into, is the rotation. I don't get these rotations by Jason Kidd, or at least in game 3. I want to say that I do think that Jason Kidd is a good coach. He has his moments, and he's been able to lead us. We would not be in the finals without him. And so, but there's a lot of problems with him, and we know that. We've had these issues with Jason Kidd in the past, but these rotations in game 3, look, I don't know what he's trying to do with Jaden Hardy. I don't know if he's purposely trying to kill Jaden Hardy's confidence, but that's not what you do to a young guy who's been playing so good in the playoffs. He's been so efficient. He's been getting so, he's scoring a lot of points. Getting to the rim and a lot. And, if he's not getting the calls, but at least he's being aggressive and he's trying to get points and he's trying to help this team out, which you can't say about Tim Hardaway, unfortunately. And so you play him like 2-3 minutes in the first quarter and don't play him for the rest of the game. What's up with that? Are you trying to kill his confidence? And, and it's almost the same with Dante Exum. Look, when Luka fouled out, that's when Tim Hardaway Jr. went back into the game. And, of course, he did get subbed out right before we went on our 20-2 run. And he gets subbed back in, and that's when Boston starts getting back into it. I'm not saying he's the main purpose. I'm saying it's the rotation. Look, I want to say Exum. I don't know if what Jason Kidd was thinking, but I feel like the best choice there would have been Exum. Because you look at his track record in the clutch this year for us. He's been great. He's been a great player. He's been able to show composure in the final minutes. You talk about Sacramento, that one game where he missed like 3 open threes in the last couple minutes, and then that last shot they gave him the last open 3, hoping he would miss, and he made it. And Derek Harper, that goat call, man. That was Houston. That was when Sacramento goes, he'll make this one.
Oh,
and it went right in, and that was some dog mentality. And Miss Derek Harper and Mark Followell talking over the game for sure. I'm getting sick of JJ and Doris Burke.
What's that word that I always laugh that he says, Derek Harper? What's he always say? I'm forgetting.
At this juncture. At this juncture, I'm missing Derek Harper and Mark Followell.
Derek Harper.
But yeah, I'm telling you, man. Dante Exum didn't even play that bad whenever he was in the game. And first of all, I mean, what a poster, dude. I mean, we're just gonna blow by the fact that Dante Exum absolutely baptized Jason Tatum, right? It was Jason Tatum.
Yeah, it was Tatum.
Yeah. I mean, my goodness, treated him like he was Deuce. And so, I mean,
holy.
But I mean, it's I thought Exum would have been the better assignment for the late minutes in that game, other than Tim Hardaway Jr. I get that Tim Hardaway Jr. is the streaky guy. You were hoping that maybe he would hit a couple threes and go crazy, but he hasn't made a basket since May 18th, man. It's almost been a month since he's seen a ball go through the hoop, and that's not a good decision. It's just not a good decision, in my opinion. Josh Green was, it's iffy. Josh Green has been kind of, not a good rotation player for us these playoffs. But I will admit he was on the floor when we made that 20-2 run, so I agree with keeping him in. But Tim Hardaway Jr. was not a good decision, and I think that was a main reason why we came to the downfall. I don't know if, it's disappointing to see Luka foul out. You could say what you want about those fouls. Um, but I really wish that the rotations would have been better.
Understood, man. Because when I look at the rotations, I just wonder why. Um, I'm not an Exum hater. I'm really not. I understand you were appreciating him, but sometimes I just wish we had more like confident ball handlers on the team. And I feel like whenever he has the ball, it just feels like all hell breaks loose sometimes. When Maxey has the ball, of course he's a little bit hurt right now, but he's a decoy. I don't feel confident when they're just trying to find
I
Luca and
feel I
Kyrie
feel the
only.
same way with Tim Hardaway Jr.
Oh,
I
for
want to know
sure.
why. I want to know why. Do you know why Derrick Jones Jr. hasn't been getting a lot of run this series? Is there?
I wish I knew,
Is it
man.
just assignment? Is it assignment? Is he not doing too good in offense? I think he's doing all right. Obviously, he's not hitting his open threes, but nobody really is. So
Nobody is, no.
I
Even
I don't
Luca was one
know.
for seven
He
last game.
played 16 minutes. Gafford's not a good matchup for the Celtics, and we kind of talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what happened against Boston earlier this year. If you don't remember, people were angry, absolutely angry at Jason Kidd for only playing Gafford like 5 or 6 minutes against Boston earlier this year in the
Mm-hmm.
regular season.
All right.
But it's just not a good matchup. He gets switched on to Jason Tatum. Same with Derek Lively. He's a little bit more mobile, and they're just shooting threes over them. And I will say that the shooting percentage hasn't been good with those, just junk up the 3-pointer that the Celtics love to do um, out of nowhere. But this is what they're doing. They're getting the defenders. They're getting our tall players out on the perimeter and driving in, and it's leaving open threes. It's leaving also open shots inside. So I mean, I don't know what Derrick Jones Jr. is doing wrong. Maybe somebody could let us know in the comments if why Derrick Jones Jr. isn't getting run, because I'm a little confused about that. But
Well,
let's talk about
with all that being said, let's look forward to Game 4. Do
yeah.
you think that the Mavericks have a chance? Is there still a little bit of a chance for this team down 0-3? We haven't seen a 3-0 comeback ever in the history of the NBA Finals. Can the Mavericks do it somehow, TJ Krulwitz?
Well, not in the NBA playoffs ever either. Look, there's no. I haven't heard a bell yet. All right, I haven't heard no ring.
I haven't heard
But
a fat lady sing it.
yeah, so I mean, seriously, I mean, they're still in it. I hope people are still going to watch the games, and I hope that the Mavs Nation still comes out and shows out strong in Game 4 of the American Airlines Center, because you know I just you shouldn't quit on this team. I know that they've kind of let us down this finals, obviously, but they're not going to win this series. But you just got to cheer on the team, man. That's all I got to say about that. I really hope that Luka can have a bounce back game. I hope he can, stay a little bit off the emotions. Obviously, everybody knows, we've already talked about it multiple times. The media's already talked about it multiple times. His arguing, his emotions get too high. And, kind of, he got fouled on a play. I believe it was a drive-by. Jason Tatum pushed him to the ground, and I think that was when he decided to go back on defense and harass the shit out of Peyton Pritchard to get a foul. And that was his fourth foul, and I was like, it's a pretty stupid way to get your fourth foul, but there's no way he's going to foul out, right? But you got to give credit. You got to give credit to Jaylen Brown for knowing what the refs were calling on these on these plays, and knowing what to do. If Jaylen Brown wouldn't have fallen over on that sixth foul, it wouldn't have been called, and that's unfortunate.
And again, that was
Um,
bad positioning too. Like knowing that you have
mhm.
5 fouls, why are you even like trying to get in his lane? Like they don't have to, give him a free basket, but at least try to have a reasonable distance so that you're not putting your body in harm's way to draw a blocking foul. So
Yep.
I fully believe that he'll bounce back in Game 4. It's not over. We have not heard a fat lady sing just yet. But we've never seen a 3-0 comeback in the NBA Finals, but who knows? It's never over until it's over. So,
Yeah.
that being said, we can move on, I guess, to Pirtle if you want to. If you want to do a bit of a
We can do a little bit of Pirtle, I guess. We could do a little bit of Pirtle. Why not?
yeah,
All
man.
right. My fault. My
This
fault.
Celtics bench, bro. Unreal.
Yeah, I mean the Celtics bench is what's killing us. If we really want to win, if we really
They're
want to win Game 4,
they're
we're
only
gonna
playing three
need
guys off the bench too.
we're gonna need a bigger performance than 11, 13 points by these role players that we have. We're gonna need a role player that kind of go off. We can't beat them with just Luke and Kyrie alone. We just saw that.
Mm-hmm.
So
With that being said, Xavier Tillman, you were up on the board for Pirtle.
I'm all for it. All for it.
Xavier
Tillman. Oh, no way. What a call, Mr. Duffy. All right, so Boston player, of course, 6'8". So
Sam Hauser. So
this is, I want to say it's Jason Tatum, but it could be Sam Hauser. Let's go Sam Hauser.
Okay, maybe it is Tatum.
So 26. It's
Tatum. Yeah, is he 26 already?
I mean, he was only 19. Felt like just 2 years ago. So it's probably not him, to be honest. Let's just guess him. He's 26.
Yeah, it's Tatum. It's Tatum. That's crazy.
I don't want to say
that makes me feel old.
That does make me feel really
he's
old.
He's only 19. I missed that meme, bro. And he needs to make a comeback.
Hey man, 19-year-old winning the finals. I don't think he's winning finals MVP. I will say good comeback game for him in Game 3. Again, I just don't really like his offensive flow with him just shooting threes a bunch. I mean, that was his old game plan, was shooting a bunch of threes. But I mean, come on, still scored over 30 points. You got to give respect where it's due. It was a good comeback performance by him. I will give him that.
13 threes is crazy from Jason. I cannot believe he did that. That's actually insane.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess he won the Finals MVP, so now he's gonna be like Curry after they went up 3-0 against the Cavs.
Yeah, but I think Jaylen Brown stole it from him in that fourth quarter. Jaylen Brown has been by far their best player in this series. I will say that.
Did you happen to see the video of the man in the Boston bar, pointing after the Mavs fan? Did you see that video?
No, I didn't actually.
You gotta find that video after this recording because that's just funny, bro. Because he was just trying to be all cocky in the Mavs fan's face, and the Mavs fan just stood there with a little bit of composure. I don't know if I would have been the same, but he was just getting in his face and he was mocking him. He was doing this stuff right there and literally right in his grill like that, right in his face. So that video was kind of crazy.
Tough when they up, man.
That's all I'm saying, man. It's not over until it's over. Who knows?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how the media treats the Mavericks if they win Game 4. If they're going to treat them like the way that they did with Minnesota. Obviously,
that's not.
My prediction is that they won't, and I hope that they don't because I don't want anyone to give us false hope. I don't want them to make us.
I want them to stay on that side. Stay on that side.
Because I mean, against a team like Boston, maybe if we were playing Minnesota and we're down 3-0, maybe I would be like, there's a possible chance. But with Boston, no, there's not a chance.
Count us out, please.
But I mean, it would be crazy, man. It would be crazy, It sucks being up 3-0 because you always have that one thought of being like, man, what if we are that team to finally blow that 3-0 lead? There's some pressure down there because of how because of the record standing right now. I believe it's 0-152, something like that for teams down 0-3 in NBA playoffs.
I can't believe it's never happened. That's wild. There's no injury that derailed the entire series that caused some to lose 4 straight. I don't understand. This never happened.
Well, yeah, and it's more the fact that I guess they played first rounds till for best of 5s for so long. But baseball's been doing that for longer, so it's happened in baseball. It's happened in hockey. It's about due time that it happens in basketball. So, but if they want to win Game 4, I need Luka to keep his composure. People are saying, it does affect the team when you have a player constantly arguing. And that's very true. If you've played basketball, you understand that, when these players are constantly on your team, not really focusing on trying to win and focusing on getting calls and stuff like that, it infuriates you. It will infuriate yourself. And, I don't know if that's, what the other Mavericks players are thinking, but, hopefully he can I need him to do that.
I trust that he'll get it under control. I saw someone say that the Mavs are 0-3 since Michael Finley took Luka's beer. And I was like, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Give the man his beer, maybe we'll get a win back. I don't know.
He needs his beer.
But moving on to the World Series champion Texas Rangers, who are now 32 and 35, I believe, on the season, beating the Los Angeles Dodgers last night 3-2. A very close one. I don't know if you saw the ending to it, but it almost looked like a blown save. But Leody Taveras got the ball back quickly on the relay and then got to Marcus Semien, who threw out Andy Pages at home plate. Almost thought they were going to have another White Sox moment at the very end with Jonah Heim potentially being in the base path, blocking the plate, but eventually the call eventually stood. So the Rangers won 3-2 last night in Hollywood. Walker Buehler would take the loss, but Corey Seager finally returning from a few days of rest with that hamstring injury, having a 3-run bomb that would effectively be the win for the Rangers. And another crazy thing about that game, David Robertson became the first pitcher of the entire season to strike out the Dodgers 1-2-3 in order in one inning. Had not happened the entire season. Very crazy stat, by the way. Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman all retired by strikeout by one of the oldest relievers in the game. Can you believe that? I believe he's 39 years old now. Let me look that up real quick. I think he's 38 or 39.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Leody Taveras because, man, he almost had another defensive
39.
Yeah, he almost had another defensive mess up in center field there. I know a lot of people don't like his defense in center field that often. And, he kind of juggled it. But, hey, I mean, he got it back in time. He threw a laser that Marcus Semien was able to turn around quickly, throw that dart to, Jonah Heim and get the last runner before they tied it up because, I think the Rangers are undefeated when it gets to extra innings, but playing against LA in Hollywood, I wouldn't have trusted extra innings to win that game. But I guess it's fate. I guess it's fate in the end that the Rangers would have won last night. If you don't know, the Rangers like to win every single time the Mavericks lose. Just saying, June 13th or June 12th when Boston beat us in Game 3 last night. They beat LA somehow after losing 15-2 the previous day. On June 9th, when we lost a Game 2, they beat San Francisco to avoid a sweep. They could not score more than 2 runs in the first 2 games. And then they go in the third game, whenever the Mavericks are playing, and score 7. And then, whenever we lost to Minnesota on May 28th, they did the same thing. They won 4-2 against Arizona. And and maybe I should have done better research before this because I need to see how they played whenever the Mavericks win. But I'm telling you, they're not winning that often right now, and they're not winning whenever the Mavericks are playing either. And it was the same thing with the Stars. They had a sub 500 record whenever the nights that the Stars would win, and they had a positive 500 record. I believe they were like something like 9-4 on days that the Stars would lose, which is. I'm correlating that, man. It's fate. The Rangers, they want to be the only team in Dallas to have that shine of winning a championship. And so they're I'm telling you, man, they're still in the Thunder, but hey, good win. Good win at least. They need the wins.
Surprised.
They need the wins.
I wonder if any of the city has gone through that, or if I feel like we're the only state that deals with that, with none of our teams winning on the same day, because we had prime opportunity in this past month, and I swear, like it's always. One team loses, 2 others win, or just one loses, and then, everything else, all the possibilities. But it's never all win or all lose. So I don't know what it is, but Texas Rangers have a chance to take the rubber match tonight at 9:30 p.m. They play the LA Dodgers once again to finish off this series in Hollywood. Last time they played the Dodgers, of course, they were in Arlington, but now they're playing in Hollywood. I believe Michael Lorenzen has the start tonight. Looks like the Dodgers are going to use the bullpen opener this game. Let me check who it is one more time.
They are doing a bullpen game. It is Michael Grove on the mound.
4-2, 4.72 ERA on the season, 34 innings pitched. So Michael Grove, you have the call today. What an opportunity for this Rangers team to finally get something going, because this schedule, TJ, I don't know if you've seen it at all, man, but it's It's looking pretty rough.
Oh, it's getting rough, man. I know June is a make or break month for the Rangers so far, and they've been kind of holding themselves above water again um, with this month. But I mean, you start losing all these series. I mean, if you got to get some series wins here, because you can't get that series win against Detroit early in the month, and you can't get the series win against San Francisco. Now you're going up. Now you have a rubber match against LA. Then you play Seattle. You play New York, but it's not the Yankees, but it's still the Mets, which they've been all right, you know. But then you have Kansas City, who's kind of cooled off, but still pretty good. Milwaukee, Baltimore, man, San Diego, Tampa. Those are going into July, but the rest of the month, man, you gotta win a couple of these series to get some momentum because you don't want to get into July, um, you know, being sub 500. It's not a good look. This is when you're starting to having to turn up for the playoffs. And so the World Series hangover, the injuries, we kind of expected this team to be kind of around 500 maybe. I don't know about you. Um, but this is about the time where this team needs to start winning games. And this is a perfect opportunity because, you know, you're playing competitive teams. You get momentum by beating them. And so, you know, it starts tonight, hopefully. Michael Grove is a strikeout pitcher. He has 42 strikeouts and 34 innings pitched. So this team needs to, you know, this team loves to strike out a lot. So, um, you know, they just got to be patient on the plate tonight. Hopefully they can find a way to get the series win in LA. That would be awesome.
Knocking in runners in scoring position should be the mindset for the Rangers coming up because apparently it just hasn't been working as frequently for them as last season. Finishing off this series against LA and then moving on to Seattle, who was number one in the division by 6.5 games, I believe, coming into today, and they could not surrender a loss right there against the White Sox, who had multiple opportunities to to beat them in Seattle, but they just could not do it. And much of the White Sox fans' dismay, just a miserable season overall for Chicago, who just cannot get anything going. They look like they have no hope. The future is looking very bleak. But you talk about a series that this Rangers team should have dominated with Detroit. Those first two games of that
Mm-hmm.
Detroit series were just miserable watches. Cannot believe I
Yep.
watched that. But you know what? They have to look ahead at this point. Josh Young should be coming back in about, I believe, 2.5, 3 weeks now, which I really thought they said it was going to be 8.5 to 9 weeks. I thought that's what they said at first, so I'm not sure what's going on with him. I haven't heard
He had a
much.
setback. They said he got hit in the hand in a rehab game,
Oh,
I believe, right?
oh my lord, that's horrendous. That's
I
just not
know.
lucky. Cody
Uh,
Bradford too, who got hurt, I believe, in the first 3 weeks. He was having a very good season. Haven't heard much on him recently. And who would have thought that, at this point, and we knew, like I said, about Bruce Bochy's World Series hangover stretch that he usually has, is he doesn't have a lot of winning teams after he wins the World Series. But
that's
this
good too.
team, this team we knew was going to be a little bit banged up to start the season. Who would have thought that pitching would have actually, at least starting pitching, would have been one of the biggest highlights of the season thus
Yeah,
far?
I
Not the
know.
bullpen, but the starting pitching. And the offense, who was so dominant and that we thought was going to be the seller of the team, would actually be the one that's struggling when it matters the most. So it's just funny how baseball works like that because we were not questioning the offense at all this offseason. So very funny. Very funny.
Yeah, got to get
Hopefully the
those
same.
bats back. Josh Young, you know, again, Evan Carter is going to bounce back, I believe. I don't think that this is, you know, you could be concerned about Evan Carter, but I mean, you're looking at some people like Randy Orenzino. Sorry, I can't even say his last name.
Rosarena.
From Rosarena and Corbin Carroll, who are having horrible starts to the season or were, and you know, nobody was really batting an eye about those two, especially specifically Corbin Carroll. He's batting sub 200. And this was NL Rookie of the Year. This guy had more hype than Evan Carter. And so, we just got to be patient with these players. He's only 21. He's only 22, something like that. Um, and same with Wyatt Langford. I'm hoping that he can get his pop that he had for his collegiate career and also his very very short minor league career. Um, and so, I think that this team last year, their offense was so good because they got on runs. They got streaky. They were able to go into an inning and score 5 runs. And so we saw that a little bit with this team earlier in the year, but now they've just kind of ran a little bit dry with offense. They're not even going on their runs anymore. They're leaving runners in scoring position a lot. So, this is about time to turn up. But I'm marking that game June 14th against Seattle, that opening game against Seattle. I know we got to beat Seattle, but maybe just for the sake of the Mavericks, maybe we should sell that game. I'm not superstitious.
Oh man!
I'm not superstitious.
You're treading very dangerous waters right there.
Hey,
very dangerous waters.
It is Heaney and Castillo. So not looking too good, anyways. I know Heaney has.
He's actually not having that great of a season, honestly.
That's interesting. Hasn't Heaney done pretty good in his last few starts, though?
He has, but he's not getting much run support, which sucks. He never gets much running support, and he also does not last that many innings.
Much run support.
He doesn't last many innings at all. Castillo's doing much better recently. 5-7, 3.35 ERA. He started off a little bit rough, but he's done well his past few games. It's just funny how this. Go ahead.
No, he needs a strikeout pitcher. He always has a high pitch count. So
yeah, man. Seattle, that is a massive series because they just completely dominated last time when they were at Globe Life Field. George Kirby, Logan Gilbert had very great games, great starts.
We're going to see them again, right?
Probably.
In the series?
I believe. Yep, Kirby and Gilbert in the second and third game, I believe.
Oh, boy.
So it's going to be Heaney, Eovaldi, and Dunning pitching for the Rangers in 1, 2, 3. So interesting season going on for the starting rotation. John Gray has surprised me, by the way. He's done pretty good thus far.
He's a good pitcher. Sometimes, a lot of his injuries last year held him back, I believe. I think he's a good, consistent pitcher for this team. I think this team saw that too, because they weren't really trying to get Jordan Montgomery back throughout the offseason. They thought they had their depth in the starting pitching, and to be fair, they have. They have had good starting rotation despite all the injuries. And so, got to hand it to the Rangers and not paying Jordan Montgomery because he would have been just as bad as, some of these.
He's having a rough one right now.
He's having a rough year.
Got booed in Arizona, I believe, his last start that he had. I mean,
unbelievable.
Man,
I did not hear about that.
Hate to see that. So, but, looking ahead for this Rangers schedule, New York after Seattle, and then Kansas City, who's got dominated by the Yankees. So I was kind of surprised to see how lopsided that series was. But I don't know if you said it. One player I thought that, man, if they can get him going, Adolis Garcia, he has been in a massive slump the past month and a half. I mean, it's one of his worst slumps that I've seen in his career thus far. And he was really the glue that kind of got this offense rolling in the postseason last year. He was the guy who was being compared to Randy Arozarena's postseason in 2020, and eventually you could argue it probably rose above that. And so Adolis Garcia hitting 211 right now, once again hitless last night. I really hope he can get something going tonight and on this road trip because they need him desperately with Corey Seager in the middle of that lineup, or the heart of that lineup, I should say. Josh Smith, finally, to wrap up this Ranger squad, I cannot believe how well he is playing this year. I mean, if you told me Josh Smith would be leading this lineup in batting average by the time June came rolling around, I would have called you crazy last year. Josh Smith, of all people, who changed his batting stance, also learned about a different approach from the plate. It's like a night and day hitter from last year because they only used him at times because he could provide some useful at-bats at the time, but also because he was a nice utility player on defense, filling in for Young's injury last season. And now we're seeing that he's very valuable at the plate this year. He's probably going to represent the Rangers at the All-Star game this year in Arlington. So he's having a pretty good year thus far. You don't think so? He's had a really good year.
Man. Home runs are king, man. There's Seager and Garcia have been pop. I think Seager has more home runs than Garcia at this point. We'll see if Seager gets in. Its injuries suck. But, I mean, Josh Smith, talk about it real quick, though. He's batting 290. That would have been probably fifth or fourth maybe on the team last year at this point of the season. But, he has been phenomenal. He's get solid contact. It helps that he's a switch hitter because it's kind of hard to get that, our left-handed hitting has not been the best this year. So glad to see that he's doing really well. good to see that we're getting some good players out of that Yankees trade. I still think that Durant is going to be a good player out of that trade. And he's, to be fair, he's been batting pretty decently. I want to see him get more pop into his bat again. This whole team needs more pop other than Seager. So yeah, I mean that's what I got to say about the Rangers. This is about to be the only team for the rest of the summer soon.
You better enjoy it. Better
they
enjoy the ride.
Winning.
They better wake up. It's gonna be a long summer. Good Lord, because man, once that NBA Finals is over, I mean, we had a lot more hype, of course, with the June Rangers as they were going crazy in June last year, but not as much offensive pop this year. So looks like we're gonna wrap up this episode 43 of the 214 Sports Show. We're so glad you could listen and enjoy sports talk in the DFW Metroplex with us once more. A little bit for the socials that we'll give. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, can you think of a number 43 in Dallas history?
I'm trying to think of a 43. I mean, it has to be a Maverick, right? Because I can't think of any 43s for
I feel like
baseball.
It would be him.
43 in DFW sports. We had a Dirk episode. We had a Maxey episode.
Oh, I'm looking it up right now. I mean, somebody that would be a notable name in Dallas sports history that has worn 43 would be Cliff Harris.
Cliff Harris, okay, that's a little bit too old for us, I guess. That's the reason why we didn't know much about that.
That's it's the Cliff Harris episode.
Excuse us,
man, and I forgot. Actually, this is not a good one, but Valerie Nichushkin was number 43 for the Stars.
Oh man!
Before he decided to become really weird and not a good human and a killer on the Colorado Avalanche.
Jesus.
I'm not saying he. Okay, I'm just saying he's a good hockey player, just a weird guy. Very weird
interesting.
Guy.
Cliff Harris, I hope you appreciate the shout out, sir. If you are somehow going to stumble upon this episode, of course, our age is kind of showing because Cliff Harris was not the first player in your mind when thinking of the number 43, but of course, a Cowboy legend. Also, speaking of the Cowboys, rest in peace, Larry Allen. That one really hurt when I saw that one, and of course, he's a legend of that Cowboys' great wall back in the 90s that kept that offensive run game going for Emmitt Smith and all the running backs in that team. So Larry Allen was such an instrumental piece, but from all accounts, he was just also a great guy. So rest in peace to Larry Allen. What a great life he lived, and condolences to his family. That'll do it for episode 43 of the 214 Sports Show. Please, we invite you to like and subscribe to all of our platforms at 214 Sports Show, where you can find the full podcast in its full length on YouTube and Spotify at 214 Sports Show. TJ, do you want to give your personal socials really quick?
Well, of course. So you can follow me on Instagram at tj.krulowitz. And then you can also follow me on Twitter /X for TJ_Krulowitz. I'm pretty active on both. And
Yeah, for me, you can follow me on Instagram. I don't really do much on there, but Twitter is where I usually post and do stuff recently. Joseph_Duffy99 on both Instagram and X. And then on TikTok, which I really have been posting on recently. I tried to do it as of late, but I've just been so busy. I haven't really been on social media a lot recently. So Joe_Duffy, if you feel like following on TikTok, and then
stay off the grid right now.
I'm kind of off the grid too. I'm really not feeling I'm working my tail off right now. I don't really have time for the socials that much. So I'm kind of a little off the grid. But please do like and subscribe this episode 43 of the 214 Sports Show on YouTube and Spotify at 214 Sports Show. We thank you for listening. For Joseph Duffy and TJ Krulowitz, have a great rest of your evening.